Toy Story 5. What more is there to really say about its existence? It's the fifth installment in Pixar's premiere series, the latest after 30 years. Now, the toys are against their most societally present threat yet, widespread digital technology. With the introduction of a legally distinct iPad into Bonnie's life, Jessie, Buzz and Woody need to act for the safety of her imagination. There is one persistent thought which has plagued me since this film was announced. Why another? Toy Story ended 16 years ago, cementing its status as the impossible organism in the cinematic landscape. The perfect trilogy. The arcs of the primary players all concluded, wrapped neatly as if with a bow. And then 4 added a little to Woody's arc, a fine enough epitaph from what I can recall. So how much more can Toy Story take? How much can its narrative and thematic framework continue to carry? The answer to that question is complicated. Now, the protagonist of this film is Joan Cusack's Jessie, and I think that was a great decision. Woody's arc has been fully concluded, and any more adventures with him in the lead would feel regressive. It would simply be repeated cycles of the same thing over and over and over again. Besides, Jessie has been a standout of the supporting cast since 2, and her backstory with her girl who abandoned her has proven to be a suitable cornerstone for a promotion to protagonist. She has more abandonment issues than anyone else in the cast, and so, in turn, is naturally the best choice to go up against the themes of society changing in favour of digital technology. This film then fleshes her backstory out further, as it must. Her more traditional ideals are put in conflict with the rise of technology. On that front, it's pretty similar to the original dynamic between Woody and Buzz, but with more of an interior injury on the protagonist's side. Her abandonment continues to fuel her actions in the narrative, influencing each and every one in meaningful directions. As always, Jessie is a fantastic character, and her placement at the forefront of this narrative is handily the film's best quality. Joan Cusack is also still exceptional as Jessie. That wasn't a surprise to me. She devours the scenes she's given with the same propulsive gutsiness which has always defined the character. She brings the newly developed melancholy of the character out, proving to the audience that yes, Jessie as a character has the emotional power to lead one of these films. A shame that the filmmakers just couldn't let that happen. Visually, there is one aspect of this film which I think is especially fun. The moments of actual, imaginative play are brought to life with a watercolour-looking animation style. This vibrancy is more important than it ever has been. The fun of childhood imagination needs to pop compared to the haunting greys and stasis with which the iPad scenes are framed. It also aids in giving Toy Story 5 a visual grammar unique to it, where it can stand on its own feet aside from the rest of the series. The sheer joy the toys get from play is conveyed effectively by breaking out of the monotony the bulk of the narrative is built from. Childhood worlds are constructed with a whimsy that would have felt right at home with the originals if implementing such an animation style were a possibility. It wouldn't be a Toy Story film without Buzz and Woody, much to my disappointment. These are two characters who have nowhere else to really go, arc-wise. They make up a boring B-story which isn't thematically engrossing. Buzz especially has been fully rounded for a while, delegated to second fiddle to Woody since movie 2. He's mostly a static character nowadays anyway, so what does the film do? I'd be spoiling if I said it now. Wait until the second half. And Woody has even less to do than Buzz here. He is roped back into the narrative, but it feels jarring. They are anti-tech, but so are all the other toys. So is Jessie. The film is only an hour and 40 minutes long, but it spends swaths of its runtime on Woody and Buzz. It removes from the depths that Jessie's story could have gone down. It refuses to flesh out the supporting players in her portion of the narrative in favour of recognisable characters who the audience can sit up and point at. These characters are hollow and bland now, which is disappointing for those who have grown up with these films. The character of Lilypad is also boring as hell, but that's mostly an issue with how the themes of traditionalism versus modernity are approached. Toy Story 5 lacks the magic of the prior movies. Those movies are character-focused, which allows for the themes to be brought up naturally. The antagonists are finely tuned to fit the thematic needs, while also being characters in their own right. Sid, Stinky Pete, especially Lotso, one of the best villains of any film ever, are complicated in their own ways, with their own contradictions and motivations. There is nothing to Lilypad. She is an iPad and that is all? Really? She thinks she's doing the right thing and that's it? This is an anti-tech PSA wrapped in the clothing of a Toy Story film. The character doesn't sing off the page, and she doesn't butt heads with anyone in a meaningful way. For most of the story, it's as simple as toys are good and the iPad is bad, with no individual character traits to elevate such a basic layout of thematic components. Aside from Jessie, in moments, there is so little by way of food for thought that this just feels like a message being jammed down one's throat. As a result of this PSA staging, the film is also strangely paced. It feels designed for children. Do not get me wrong, these are family films, and I'm not disagreeing with that point. However, children deserve so much better. Scenes don't breathe. They're not given the time of day. It is mostly sensation and spectacle as sugary icing to make the themes go down. What makes this even worse is the cutting to these newer gen Buzz Lightyear toys. The film even opens with them as the focus. It's an attempt at action with low individual shot lengths to keep a younger audience with an attention deficit engaged. It feels cynical. I cannot stop having to specify that this feels like a dumbed down Toy Story. Is this all that Toy Story is now? Faces for people to remember and recognise, and the message being force-fed to children who aren't given the chance to engage with the thematic weight of what they've been provided. Toy Story has been infantilized. It is thematically impotent. If there wasn't one scene where, I'll admit, the film nearly got me crying, didn't get me there, may I add, this would be rated lower. For now, I think that Toy Story 5 is really weak with a moment or two of greatness, the old Toy Story emerging from under the hollowed out carcass that this film is wearing with ill-gotten pride. Toy Story 5. 2.5 stars. And now it's time for spoilers. This isn't a substitute for watching the film, so I suggest watching it first, before continuing. Oh, what to start with. Let's start nicely. In the final parts of Act 2, there is a scene where Jessie returns to the tree where she used to play with her former owner Emily. This is the scene that nearly got me teary-eyed. In the moment where Jessie looks upon the tree, seeing her name carved into its bark, discovering that Emily named her daughter after Jessie, Jessie's growth in this movie finally concludes. It's satisfying. She learns about the crucial role that she was able to play in Emily's life. She may have been abandoned, but her influence lingered long after. The traditional quality that human imagination has at creating meaning in one's life is emphasized. This is what Toy Story 5 needed more of. This is truly beautiful, and I won't be arguing otherwise. Jessie's internal injury is directly addressed and she, as a character, is able to move on. However, this scene is cut off rather abruptly. To match the pace needed to hook a younger audience with reduced attention spans, what should have been a longer sequence is cut down to the bulk of a single scene. Woody and Buzz burst in, and my emotional investment was instantaneously shattered. From what I remember, this isn't what Toy Story used to be. Is it? I hate the new gen Buzzes. The film revolves around them for far too long. With Woody and Buzz's antics, there's already too much runtime stripped away from Jessie, and these new Buzzes are not even characters. They are a plot function for the third act, where they fly, making the obvious flying with style reference as the external conflict comes to an end. All the time spent on them, on the emotional front, is wasted. I could feel my eyes glazing over. Oh, and back to Buzz. He's delegated to the sidelines, building the courage to ask Jessie to marry him. A romantic interest for Jessie might not even have been a bad thing. Unnecessary, maybe, but for her arc, which needs to lean into the connection she has with her owners and fellow toys, the implementation of romance is capable of furthering her growth. But Buzz? This subplot feels practically studio mandated as a cramming in of Buzz's recognizability into a part of Jessie's arc, so they doesn't feel redundant. The thing is, that doesn't work. He feels more redundant than he ever has. And then Lilypad. The character is far too finicky. Like I mentioned earlier, she is mostly the demonization of modern technology, but it feels strange that she has remorse over her actions, and an abrupt redemption arc. The redemption arc does complicate the overly smooth binaries of the conflict at the heart of this film. Yet, because she is such an empty nothing burger of a character, the redemption comes out of nowhere and feels unearned. It's more like a sudden, oops, and then she learns the error of her ways. It's such a childish construction of such dynamics. This is not an issue with Greta Lee's performance, it is simply that this is a really boring character. Please stop making Toy Story movies. There might be new places to go, but these characters need to either be put in a box while sentimental perceptions of them last, or fixed up properly before they get played with again. Well, that's all. Keep on watching movies, and form your own opinions. See you in the next one.